All right, we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. My name is Rose Cat. I am the in-house technical wizard, the creative technician for Speaker Skills Academy. And today I am so excited to welcome one of our illustrious community coaches, a graduate of the coaching certification program with Speaker Skills Academy, and a newly published author. I should work on my speaking skills. Newly published author, Gina Riley, amongst other hats you wear as a badass. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live, Gina. How are you today?
Great, one badass to another. Takes one to know one.
Well, likewise, and connected by two of some of my favorite badasses, Coach Kathy Armias, Coach Mark Williams, our co-founders of Speaker Skills Academy. I got to meet Gina a bunch of times in person because she does live over here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And we were recently together at that HR sort of consortium. And I had to say, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm really an HR kind of, I'm more of like human resources, right? Yes. But HR is like this is how we keep the peace. And I'm sort of one that's like, okay, let's get in here. Let's get messy. And I just loved the conversations that we had briefly at that event. And then even more on that stage around just like owning your voice, but also speaking with grace and kindness, but also in this very moment. So my first question in this sort of format for anybody who's tuning in on the live, catching the replay, we're doing this Q&A. So it's going to be a little bit of a, not exactly rapid fire, but I want to know, I want to just get inside of Gina's brain as an author, as a keynote speaker, as somebody who's worked inside and outside of the hiring process and HR and all of these things that make us valuable applicants, but that, understanding what we need to kind of do to get in there. I'm so excited. So the first question I have for you, Gina, is just in the last 5 years or so, what have you really learned about refining your voice, whether that's as a speaker on the keynote stage or through writing this new book, or maybe both?
Well, I think the main thing is that all of us have very short attention spans. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means no matter how we're speaking and who we're speaking to, whether that's literally on a stage or whether that's one-on-one communications, whether that's interviewing for a job, that we need to be succinct. We need to be clear. We need to know what our messaging is. And that's very different than just having casual conversation where we're ideating or brainstorming. But when we're trying to get a message across, we need to have some forethought so that we can have, lead with those sharp tools so that people walk away and go, I know what she was talking about.
This makes me think of a couple workshops that I know Speaker Skills has led. I'm not sure which coach, but the stickiness. I know Kathy is often talking about the thing that sticks. I even think from that Disrupt HR symposium over at Rev Hall a couple weeks ago. That sticky thing, the hook, what's the thing that brings in the next question, or the curiosity or the arched eyebrow, whether it's from the listener or the reader, or in the hopeful case of an interview experience, right? Speaking a little bit about your book, the impetus to write it, can you talk a little bit about how writing this book is sort of probably crests with some of that bit of refine your voice and having the stickiness to what you're talking about, to what you're saying for your audience?
It's 100% aligned. Qualified isn't enough. The foundation and the reason for the book is to have people feel empowered to create their messaging. More than a third of the book is developing your unique value proposition. By the time you get done with phase one of the three phases in the book, you will have the tools and then the words to explain what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and the answer to tell me about yourself. And so the foundation about the book and everything that I am about is about clear communication.
Okay, so that value prop right there, man, anybody who goes to any networking needs to know, in one sentence, what's the thing you do, but not just what's the thing you do, what's the thing that you do when you answer it? People are like, oh, tell me more, right? Like, what's the hook? What's the sticky thing versus like you hear someone's first 4 words and you try, this is me. I try to stay engaged and then I'm like, I don't know what that word means. And, or I might be bored and, or I don't want to sound stupid if I ask this question and, or, right. And so that value prop going like, it's the thing, right? It's the thing that like keeps the conversation engaged. Yeah.
It is. And what I would say, I'll add to that is I just recently published an article called something like this. It's in Forbes Coaches Council. Your elevator pitch may be costing you opportunities. And the reason why is the elevator pitch is that 1 minute, thing that you might say about yourself if you're jumping on an elevator or if you're in a networking conversation. The answer to tell me about yourself is a very quick highlights reel of the themes and patterns of your career so that you can explain how you fit in the job ecosystem. And it's really 2 separate things.
Okay, thank you for teeing me up perfectly. Often in my interview, just like my Barbara Walters Jr. type of momentum I like to bring into chats like this, I like to just get into like a little bit of the like why, some may call like the meat and potatoes, maybe it's the tofu and the veggie, depending on your palate, right? But the what, right? Like the what behind this is sort of what you're talking about. And I want to take this opportunity to give like, I guess what people would call like a proper introduction, right? Like we can talk about Gina's background. We could talk about what Speaker Skills Academy does. We can even talk about what, my part in that is, but I always like to start with like the why, like what is the thing that we're talking about to me is always like the why of it before the what of it, like what gets you out of bed versus like, what do you do? And so for those, again, tuning in now on the live or catching up later, like Speaker Skills Academy is an online community that has the goal of helping anyone who wants to become a better speaker do just that, right? It has been such a joy and privilege to work with Kathy and Mark as they've launched this over the last year and some change between the in-person programming, right? We hung out during Creative Lab Portland. They just had a Creative Lab in New York City just 3 weeks ago. And so I know I missed that. Gina, you missed that. It was like such FOMO, right? So
horrible FOMO. I literally could not watch the images coming in because I was just like, Urgh.
I know. Me too. I was just like, I'm going to look at that on Monday because all I want to do this weekend is be in New York City, but I need to be right where I'm at. But that said, so Speaker Skills Academy really creates this container, both online and in person, for people to, as we say, word up, right? I've had so much learning happen just in this short time of working with Coach Kathy and Mark. And I'm curious, Gina, you've had a long career in refining, just exactly what you say, good, clean communication. How would you say your career up until joining Speaker Skills Academy, like what were some of your tools? Give us a snapshot of like before your Speaker Skills Academy toolbox started building to like the tools you carry with you right now.
Sure. I've been speaking as long as I can remember, and I've been on stages since, mid-high school and even earlier, because I was doing speeches, I was running for student government, I was singing on a stage, you name it. So, over time you learn what works and what doesn't work. And then all through college, my degree is in communication. So just learning some of the foundations of what communication is all about and how we speak to each other. With Speaker Skills Academy, it's a whole nother level, because what we've done as a group of speakers is built up a huge repository of lessons and drills. And so what we're able to do is go in and cherry pick out different things that apply to whatever we have coming up, whatever that might be. So if you can think of any nuance to speaking, that's what we're covering. One example, I think one of the ones that I did was how to inject pausing in an appropriate way, speaking more slowly so that your audience can keep pace with you. Because we know that executive presence diminishes if we speak too quickly. And so that was one of the drills that I created for our community in leading people through some exercises on how to slow our tempo down so that our audience can hear what we're saying and so that our message resonates.
That makes me think of like both the delivery and the pause, like stage presence, right? Like would it be in music, it's like the sort of metronome or cadence, right? For speaking, maybe it's a slightly different term. I can't think of what it might be. Cadence sounds like it might be in the ballpark.
Tempo.
Yeah, the tempo, right? To see, I know Kathy often tells that story about like the ice cream when she went to get the ice cream in the middle of the night and sharing it as the perspective of just hers or the perspective of like, for you, Gina, that one time when you want that thing and like makes it relatable. I'm wondering when you wrote this book, how that sort of like timing and consideration that like you were able to refine, how does that translate into writing a book? Because you don't necessarily wait for the pause and the reaction in the room or on the Zoom screen. But at the same time, you probably do want some of these concepts to like sit with people where you might have a chapter break or a page break.
Absolutely. So I've been asked a number of times if I'm going to record and put the book on Audible, and that will be a plan, and it's an investment that I plan to make. But in the meantime, I would say most people actually need the book itself. And the reason why is it's that sync time. People need to go chapter by chapter. And at the end of every chapter, except for chapter 6, there's exercises people need to do. So if you're listening to me as an earworm, or even you have it on a Kindle version, that's great. You can pull up your Word or Google Doc and do the work. But this is something that people will want to flip through. And it's heavy, it's weighty, it's full of exercises. It is not a book of tips. It is a book of developing your unique value proposition, creating and executing a job search strategy, preparing for interviews with my rare candidate framework, and then building a thought leadership strategy. This is not something where you put in a checklist of tips and have the reader walk away and go, I got it. I'm going to go execute my job search now. It's all going to be fine. It's not going to be fine unless you do the work.
So this is not a lose 20 pounds in 20 days kind of diet, right? This is a committing to like, you want to have this lifestyle change with your career movement, with your trajectory, right? You have to really embody the book. And I remember when we were first talking about the book, you talked about these pieces of homework, these just the sort of download, right? Like as you're reading something, you have the consideration, but then taking that pause to do the work to sketch out. So you give journal prompts, you give exercises, and like now go and contact this many people, build your network out, go refine. Like you're actually almost giving assignments in the book, it sounds like.
Yes, it's frameworks. It's frameworks, it's formulas. You can follow these recipes and then build the progress. And ultimately, when you get done with phase 1, you'll have an answer to tell me about yourself. And oh, by the way, your tell me about yourself isn't just one thing, one block of text that you're reciting to people. You need to know generally what your themes and patterns are so you can modify what you're saying to any given audience, depending on who's going to be referring you or if it's a hiring manager. So I've had some people develop that whole thing and want to read it, and you can't do that. You've got to be able to jump on with any given type of scenario and read the room and then figure out, okay, this person needs to hear these 3 things from me.
I know the answer to this question, but I'm still going to ask it like I don't. So when determining which, kind of script or embodied public service announcement, your value prop, when determining which thing you're going to say to which audience member, to which hiring manager, to which networking associate, potential coworker, peer, whatever, how do you, Gina, suggest people really refine which shtick they're going to go with? If it's cheeky, if it's more buttoned up, like how does one figure out how to read the room?
It's less about the delivery of choice, meaning cheeky or otherwise. It's more about the very specific things that person may need to hear from you for them to get it. So let's say I'm in my hairdresser's chair, and my hairdresser touches many humans during any given month. whatever it is that I'm sharing with her about my job search or what I might be looking for, it needs to be in a way where she's thinking, oh, I know someone who sat in my chair last week who's looking for someone like that. That's going to be very different. That conversation is going to be different than if I'm talking to the actual hiring manager. I need to read that room and go, gosh, hiring manager, what's keeping you up at night? What are the hot fires on your plate? If you hire me, what do you expect me to do in the first month, 6 months, and a year? And you write my review and you're saying I had a successful year. That's what I need to be talking about. It's about your relevancy to that person. So if it's a friend in your network, they need to understand what you do well enough to talk about you. I'm working with some people right now who are like, I can do 3 different jobs. I could do A, B, and C. I had 20 years at this big company and I have seen a lot and done a lot. Let me tell you what's happening to those people. They're passing on generic resumes to people who are willing to take that conversation. And those people don't know what to do with it. They're like, I'll pass it on to a hiring manager. We don't know if that's actually happening. And I suspect it's because the person who's making those requests for passing along my resume and making those introductions, they don't know how to speak about you. And that is your problem. It's not their problem. It's your problem.
Right.
You know what Kathy says, our friend Kathy Armia, she says, what we say is from us, but it's for them.
Yes.
We need to make it clear for them or else they can't speak for us. And I just want to have a shout out to my friend Claire Davis. I am in StreamYard and I cannot add any comments to the bottom, but hi, Claire, I see you. And thank you for saying my book is fire.
Awesome. I didn't see Claire's message. Hello, Claire. I didn't see that on the LinkedIn Live, but that's probably because I have.
By the way, Claire is quoted. She has a whole page, maybe a little longer. And what it's about is how do you handle when you've been actually fired from a job, not just laid off, but fired. How do you approach answering that? And that holds a whole page in my book in chapter 6.
I was trying to see that chat and accidentally clicked that mute button. Sorry about that. Or unmute button. Okay, well, shout out to Claire. Glad that she's here. Thank you, Claire, and thank you for pointing that out, Gina. Just to wrap up that thought about like basically it's theirs, like we're communicating for that audience, right? And so what I heard you said, which was sort of like what was in my head, is really speak their specific language, right? And I learned this the hard way I didn't want to assume that anybody in my client service circle needed to be spoken to a certain level about technology. Cause I was like, if I can understand this, you can understand this. Let's talk about this. But I was talking too fast and too high level of like technical stuff that once I understood, I was like, oh, that's easy. But I was alienating my prospective clients, right? And so I've learned that in the process of communications, of figuring out ways to say it's like this, or like you said, in the hairdresser's chair, to speaking with a hiring manager, or bumping into the CEO at the grocery store saying, oh my goodness, we just became connected on LinkedIn. Isn't that interesting? Here we are, real life. I have to make sure that the thing I'm saying makes sense to them, or I'm going to just be like anybody else they bumped into at the grocery store, right? Yeah. And I just think that that's the sort of hook you're talking about, the sticky, if you will. I wonder if that piece is at all, like, I don't want to say controversial, like you're doing it wrong, or is there something else in the book that you feel like maybe you needed to handle like with a softer touch on ensuring people kind of revisit this approach differently? Because the title of your book is Qualified Isn't Enough. So you're saying like, hold on, let's look at this a different way. Was there anything else in writing this that you were maybe a little bit, I don't know, concerned or afraid to share and had to refine it slightly? Come up with courage to say it differently. I knew exactly where I'm going with this. I didn't
pull any punches in this book, but here is why. I've kind of earned that place. When I first started building my program, it's called Career Velocity, and I started ideating on it back in 2017 and 18 and really came out in 2020 with the program. This is iteration after iteration, working with leadership level clients, executives, people 40 to 69, and listening to their stories, listening to them navigate how they're explaining what they do. And this is years and years of refinement to get to a certain place. So what I'm listening for, when I'm listening to a client say, oh yeah, my friend said that they would pass on this resume inside of the company, but I'm not hearing back. And I hear this story repeatedly from that same person. There's a reason. Well, I know one of the reasons is you've already told me that you can do 3 jobs. Is that what the message you're telling everybody you talk to? Because not everyone's going to get all 3 jobs. You barely can explain it. So no, I don't pull any punches. I don't skirt around things with tips. I say, here's the method I know that can work. And here's the frameworks. And it's all, my son, he's 23. So these frameworks can work for a college grad. And he's like, Mom, I need a workbook because I'm going to start writing in my book. I'm like, don't write in the book. I'll make you a workbook.
Oh, in his copy of Qualified Isn't Enough?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. But I had another friend, super creative person, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to mark the heck out of it. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, there's actual, things to fill out. Like, I'll see. Can you see? Like, there's actually lines and
yeah. I'm the kind of person that will start with a Post-it note because I'm like, I might want to lend this book out or something. And then like the Post-it note becomes, another page. So I see a supplemental workbook coming soon.
Oh yeah. I've started it. It's 30 pages. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to implement that.
Yeah, we chatted about that a little bit. Well, I love that you're like, I held no punches like this. I come straight at it because you have the experience that that this is how it's going to be most impactful for people. And speaking about impact, Speaker Skills Academy recently launched Impact Groups, which is essentially our version of like a mastermind, a really very specific, directed timeline, working with Coach Kathy to get real clarity on a talk, on an idea to move it through the process. And I wonder, Gina, how your experience in impact groups has helped you get more clear and confident, because as you said, you've been in this work lane for so long, you've been speaking on it. Was there just like a little bit of like kind of turning the key on that? Or is it just more for you like maintenance, like a boxer who's won so many prizes just maintains that level? Or was there a big unlock on that for you in impact groups?
I think there's a lot of work that we have to put in to become an elite speaker. And I don't consider myself an elite speaker. I consider myself a good speaker. I can do it. What I get out of Kathy's impact group is 1, access to Kathy Armias. I get to rub elbows with one of the top speakers in the world who trains TEDx people to get on, TEDx speakers to get on the stage. She goes into huge corporations and teaches people how to, bring out their stories and do storytelling better. So 1 is access to Kathy. 2 is we're in a small group environment full of other people that are on the same page trying to accomplish something through better speaking. But it's not all I want to be on a TEDx stage. It could be, for me, facilitating workshops better. It might be being a better podcast guest. It might be trying to get in front of the right audiences. It might be pricing what you're doing. Like, how are you, how are you going to price the work that you're providing for people, whether that's on a stage or in a webinar form. So there's so many nuances to speaking and what we need to do to set ourselves up to be successful, that is the benefit of that micro impact group within the larger Speaker Skills Academy.
I love how you said that, because I think right out the gate, right? Like the first time I ever met Kathy, period, I was like, can we just always co-work together? Oh, you want to hire me? Great. Can I also just drop into these sessions? Great. Can I also, and then of course I met Mark, and just the energy that comes from working with the two of them is unparalleled. It's incredible. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. But I also think you bring up another really, really good point in that, like, the community, there's like while every individual might have their own goal that is very different from the other, the community impact of supporting each other, but also just like, we're not an entire room full of absolutely fantastic speakers, right? There's a whole gradient, and some of us don't even care to be on a big stage. Some of us just want to be able to feel really comfortable in front of our employee resource group or in front of our, our team, that's a small group of 4 or 5 people, whatever it is, we can all become better at speaking. And I just love that you said that. If you will briefly just chat as we get to wrapping up your experience, both in Speaker Skills Academy, but just as a sort of a free agent, how community can really impact your growth on being a thought leader, Gina.
Well, I would say the best thing about Speaker Skills Academy is the community, because it's full of so many different kinds of people. And I haven't been a member of Toastmasters. I have attended some, and what my observation is people would do maybe a presentation and then they would get constructive or critical feedback, however that looked, by a whole group of people. And what I find that's different in the Speaker Skills Academy is it's about first uplifting, it's about providing guidance, education, and information. And we're all coming from different aspects of speaking, so we all add some flavor to the whole process. But we're not there to critique each other. We're there to practice. We do something called drilling. And so if I'm the coach for that drill session and I'm doing one on speaking more slowly, for example, I come with drills. I come with some education. I come with fun facts about why speaking slower is important. So people go, okay, I'm here for a good reason. And then we drill these little mini micro drills together in the room, and we go into Zoom rooms as well. And so what's the benefit? We get to practice without a lot of judgment. I mean, who wants to be judged while you're trying to practice? So that's what we like. That's what we do.
I call it squats for communication, you know, like anything you want to get better at, we do reps. And so it's like squats for comms, you know?
That's awesome.
Well, as we wrap up, Gina, what is one piece of advice that you now give your clients that has come from your speaker skills experience, if you can pin to one?
Oh gosh, one piece of advice that, well, I'm going to go back to what Kathy said, and she has said it in multiple forums, which is your messages and what you're saying is from you, but for them. And the people that I work with, job seekers, especially mature job seekers who are very experienced and have a lot to communicate, if they can get out of their own way and stop worrying so much about selling themselves, and get curious about what those decision makers need to hear, and refine that message.
So that sounds like doing a little bit of extra research on who your audience is, right? Like not just listening to the way they might be speaking, but like having done a little recon on keywords on their LinkedIn, right? Or the company's website, or different common phrases or common missions, right? To sort of repeat or mirror back to the audience.
I'm going to take it one step way deeper. And that is in chapter 7 for interview prep. I give very deep prompts for research. And at the executive level, executives should be preparing 40 hours worth of homework to get ready for a panel interviews, multiple interviews, months of interviews. So if you're not studying up, and I've got all these prompts in there to help you do it, coming off of years of experience, those are the frameworks that you need to not just compete, but win the job.
And that's the thing. It's about winning the job. It's winning the job, of course, that is the long game. But even at this point, winning the interview is like a win for people. And so I think your title of your book really points to that, right? Like, because I can tell you for the last 5 years of interviewing different women all around the world that like this sort of moment in the economy, which I would have loved to dig into further, but it's not exactly an economics conversation as much as it is communication conversation. But a lot of people kind of like waiting in the line of the hiring, so to speak. And I think that, you know, a book like yours is not only extremely timely, but you're calling out like we know that you're qualified. Next issue, let's get you on through a better process of communicating and outreach and basically presenting yourself as the winning ticket for this open position, whatever it may be. Yeah.
1,000%. if you're going to be the chosen one, the candidate of choice, you have to set yourself up to be the winner. And today we can't sit back and wait. We can't apply through ATS, applicant tracking systems, and expect to get plucked out of obscurity. We need to go after what we want. We need to get conversations. We need to get referrals, and we need to have that sharp messaging before we do it.
Yep, before we do it, not as we're boiling the pots of water and throwing the spaghettis at the wall in the hiring process. It's like set the plan up and go with it. Well, the book is called Qualified Isn't Enough. Gina Riley has a brand new shiny website. You should check it out. It's real pretty.
It is. There's a video on the hero image. It was very exciting.
Awesome. All right. Video is queen. It is winning the internet these days. And if you're lucky enough, you can catch Gina, Coach Gina. She's a Speaker Skills Academy community coach as well. She leads many of our awesome skills drill sessions, which I lovingly call squats for communication. Because if you want to do anything, well, you got to practice it. And skills drills is where we do that for Speaker Skills Academy. And so, Gina, as always, it's really lovely to spend time with you. I, of course, prefer in person, but when I can't be next to you at events, it's great to have our digital moments, LinkedIn Live, and our new friends on the YouTube channel. And we just had our open session we do once a month at Speaker Skills Academy. Usually it's the first skills drill session of the month. So you missed it for October, but we've got one coming up November 1st. So if you want to check that out, head on over to speakerskillsacademy.com, and we will invite you in with open arms to the open session. And you might even catch Gina given a session in her lovely, illustrious, amazing communication style as well. So Gina, thank you for being here as always. And congrats again on the book.
Thank you. And word up.
Word up.